Good evening and welcome to Kunsang Payo Choling. Excuse me. We are so glad to have you with us tonight and to enjoy this teaching by Jetsunma Ahkon. This teaching was given back in 2003. It's not a really long teaching, but it's one of what they often call pith teachings about this hard advice for degenerate times. So seems particularly appropriate as we move into more and more of this Kali Yuga, as it's known to be. And so, with no further ado, we will begin.
And so tonight I just want to give you a few words of advice, because I think that sometimes we forget the words of our teacher if we don't hear them from our teacher's mouth occasionally. And I know that that's normal and natural. We are sentient beings after all. And it's very hard to hold correct view and to maintain pure idea, pure conduct, and pure thought. So we rely on our teachers to give us some advice, and so here it comes. During this time, it's very difficult to make much progress on our path. And one of the reasons why is that so much non-virtue has cropped up. You know, the Buddha has taught that when we create causes, at the same time we create effect, so that cause and effect arise interdependently. They arise at the same time. That should be an important thing for us, because sometimes we catch ourselves doing things that we don't want to experience the result of. And we've been taught again and again and again about cause and effect relationships. Yet it's still difficult. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult is because it seems that non-virtuous karma is ripening by the bucketful. And I mean this on a collective level. I don't mean to look at any of you and say that there is a non-virtue ripening, but I mean on the collective level. We as a nation are now killing the non-virtue of murder every day. Every day, people die in Iraq. And many days, people die in Afghanistan. And it's not only us. I'm not looking at our country and saying something is bad. This is the way of modern times. This is the way of degenerate times that we find ourselves in now. But try to remember that degenerate times become so, Kali Yuga becomes so, because of the quality of its tendency to condense the way it does. If you could look at this degenerate age of Kali Yuga in a different way, maybe in an enlightened way, or maybe the way the Buddhas look at it, you would see that the fabric of Kali Yuga is a little bit like if you take a piece of wool and you pour boiling water on it. How it will shrink up, and you have the same fabric, but it's all condensed, you see? So now at this time, non-virtues are ripening left and right. And of course, non-virtues convince us that we ought to, the ripening of non-virtues convinces us that we ought to commit more non-virtues somehow, because most sentient beings are really lost in samsara. We are fortunate. We have heard some of the teachings of the Buddha, and we have in our hands a precious jewel. I don't think it's a coincidence that many of the practices that we do come from a cycle of teaching called Buddha in the Palm of the Hand. These teachings that we have, the practices that we have, are simple, but they create a great amount of merit and a great amount of good. And while non-virtue is cropping up, and Kali Yuga is becoming more condensed, it also means that we have the opportunity to create virtue in a very condensed way. So when non-virtue is ripening quickly, the best thing to do, of course, is to accumulate as much merit as possible and dedicate that merit immediately to the liberation and salvation of all sentient beings, and particularly to antidote the non-virtue that this world is accumulating now. We often, because we have had some training, try to do some practice, and then maybe while we're doing ordinary things, maybe we have a moment of contemplation, or we have a moment of compassionate thought, or we have some small deed that we do, maybe hanging out a bird feeder or something, and we forget that even these small deeds, in a world where war is breaking out, these small deeds of concern for other sentient beings are so important. So even these things we should dedicate immediately to the liberation and salvation of all sentient beings, being so much aware of what we do that we, not in a neurotic way, but in a comfortable way, try to accumulate merit and try to dedicate it immediately. Sometimes when we do things, we just forget. We're not mindful. We might do something nice for someone, but not dedicate it, not connect. Because we walk around a little bit robotic sometimes, don't we? So now is the time to be more mindful. And even time to practice the kind of bodhisattva teachings, training that we have had before, where whenever one walks through the door, and whenever you walk through the door, you say, as I walk through this door, may all sentient beings walk through the door of liberation. And when we eat our food, of course we offer our food to the three precious jewels, but by the same token we can also say, as I am nourished, may all sentient beings be nourished with Dharma. And then as we brought in a dog and gave him a drink of water, we could dedicate that and say, by this virtue may all sentient beings be led to the elixir of enlightenment and drink the nectar of enlightenment. And so we have to turn our minds from ordinary concerns somewhat to and gradually we have to do this, to the concerns of a true renunciate. And of course the true renunciate is a mindful person and uses every opportunity to gather merit. I think about this time, and I think that right now you should understand that it's hard for the bodhisattvas to be here now. It's just difficult. These times are darkening. And I'm not telling you this to make you feel that depressed or powerless. If anything, you are the most powerful of people and most fortunate of sentient beings, because you have technique, you have tradition, you have a way to accumulate merit, to dedicate practice, to be mindful, and to create a meritorious life. You know how to do that. You have the skill, you have the technology. This is a really important time for all of us to practice. And it's a really important time for us to pay attention to detail. Like, let's notice some detail here. I noticed that the pictures of the lamas are lower than these little statues. And I'm thinking to myself, now what does that mean? We look at the statue, and the statue is fully empowered, and it's been blessed. And we hope that the deity has descended into that statue just in the way that it has been blessed. And the prayers are there, and maybe there are some relics and some beautiful offerings. But right below, this is the picture of the Rupakaya. This is the Buddha in body form. My teachers are there. They are in the flesh. We didn't have to make a statue. They are here to guide us. So they should be elevated. They should be high. They should not be on that intermediate shelf. And, another thing that you might do is to put them on the wall even. Find a way to hook them in somehow. But see, that small mindlessness is something that could be avoided. We could constantly be creating virtue to antidote what is happening now. And that's not a small thing. In one way, it's a big thing. It has to do with our ability to recognize the Guru, to recognize the face of enlightenment. And so this is important. It's not nothing, it's something. And then I noticed that in the Shower of Blessing books, it was in the yellow book, it was in the, not sure. I was trying to remember, but I can't remember now. In one of these books, there is Om Ahung Benzar Guru Pema Siddhi Hung with no Pema. So there's a wrong mantra in there. So we have to find that and correct it in all the books. You were trained better than that. You know that those little mistakes matter because they mean that you're really on the path, that you're really mindful, that you are really practicing and not just, swimming around. This is so important for us to be mindful and to practice correctly now. Because what we're seeing ripening in the world, it could very well have a snowball effect, and I really believe that there is that possibility. And so I'm asking you to step up to the plate and make a difference through your practice, through your actions, through your mindfulness, through your kindness. To practice more deeply, not to have our first concern just to have things be over and done with, but to really practice, even in the small ways when we just walk around. These little things are so important. So you who have the robes, you have the most pristine opportunity. All you have to do is walk around town with your robes on, and you've accomplished something that day. And yet we don't take that opportunity. We often dress differently. And to make your robes nice, to hold them nicely and perfectly, it gives others such a good feeling about the robes. They can't feel better about the robes than you do. So if you dress carelessly and hold yourself carelessly, they won't know how to hold you. So in a sense, you have become ambassadors for Dharma. And this is true of the lay people as well. You may not wear the clothing, but your inner qualities are noticed. And they either contribute or detract from the world. If there's any reason for us to be on this path at this time, it is because we have this wonderful opportunity, this wonderful technology that we are told by the enlightened ones can make a difference. We can dedicate merit. We can practice and offer this as a solution for peace. While across the world others are killing and hating and maiming one another and blowing each other up, we can practice and hold them in our hearts and offer our merit for their well-being. This is the time to have that fire in the belly. That fire in the belly that says you really care and you really want to make a difference. So when we think of these little Dharma things like where to put the picture and how to write the mantra and how to wear our clothing, it's not about being neurotic and persnickety or something, you know, it's not a crazy thing, you see. It's about mindfulness in a world that has gone mindless. It's about being a precious jewel in the middle of broken glass and holding yourself and therefore the path of Dharma with dignity. These things are important, and that's really all I want to say to you tonight, to give you the advice that I'm giving you. I think our level of attention has gone down, and that's natural because I haven't been available to you on a conscious level. But I am ultimately and supremely available to you in your practice. I know exactly where you're all at. And you mustn't think that because you haven't seen your teacher for a while, that there is no connection and nobody's watching. I depend on you. Sentient beings have hopes of you. And while so many people are committing so many non-virtues, and so much destruction is going on in the name of religion, we have to hold firm. This is the time to step up. Boy, if you're going to hold your robes nicely and take them to the next level, this is the time to do it. And if you're going to take robes, now's the time to do it. This is not the time to back off. And so I'm asking you to help, because this, I really believe that the situation in the world now is just, if I can use this analogy, holding on by its, by its nails, just barely holding on. A tremendously warlike situation, worse than we've seen, could break out there anytime. So you must step up now. You must get that fire in the belly. You must care what's happening there. You must make the effort to counterbalance all that non-virtue. Otherwise, why are we on this path? If we don't want liberation for ourselves and for all sentient beings, if we don't want suffering to end, why are we here? So, that is my hope and my request of you on this 10 million day. And please listen. Please hold your practice very close now. And your mindfulness. And do all that you can. Dedicate your merit. Don't grow lax like that. The Rupakaya form of the Guru is in the world. There will soon come a time when that isn't possible. And this is what the Buddha has taught. So, while that Nirmanakaya form of the Buddha, my teachers, while they are in the world, I request that you hold them up higher than anything you can do, anything you are, anything you'll ever be, because they are the face of your nature. Without them, we are lost, utterly and completely lost. So that's it. That's my heart advice to you, because you are my heart. I'm telling you this. If you were my children, I wouldn't tell you different. Please practice correctly now. Pay attention. Be mindful. Be a renunciate. Okay? Let's not fancy up. Let's not do that. You said to me, you prayed to Guru Rinpoche, and you've said to me many times, following you, I will practice. Well, I'm here for sentient beings. How about you? Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you. I love you. It's so good to see you. And I am getting stronger, and I will be getting stronger. So there.
Thank you so much. That was fast, I know, and but wow, yeah, okay. So here we are in even deeper Kali Yuga, and the advice still holds. So in any case, I invite you to come to KPC. I invite you to come um, to visit, to stay, to pray, to practice, to help feed people like Jetsunma's doing, which is amazing. The amount of food that that through her leadership, we've been able to source and help deliver to organizations that can then deliver it to the people who need it, and forming kind of a wonderful food chain for this county and possibly beyond, who knows. And we invite you to come and help participate in that. It's called KPC Buddhist Relief. On the Dharma side of things, we have so many things available online, partly due to the leftovers from having to go completely online during the pandemic. But these teachings from Jetsunma are shown, since they're pre-recorded, they're shown Wednesdays at 7:30, most Wednesdays now, and Sundays at 11 a.m. I think it's the fourth Wednesday of the month. There will be another activity here at the temple. There will be Kempo Karze doing Q&A, public Q&A during that time. And I don't know yet how that's going to come out. So if it turns out we can show it in the same venues and do the same thing, we'll do it. But otherwise, I'll let you know how to get to it. So these are shown twice a week, and you're invited on YouTube to come and watch. Their teachings by Kempo Tenzin Karze are just beginning to start up. He has announced he wants to do the first and third Saturdays of each month at 7:30, a public teaching. We don't know yet where and how. We haven't worked out those pieces, but again, I'll let you know soon. But there will be live teachings from him every other week, and twice a month, I guess it would be first and third Saturdays at 7 p.m. I believe it starts on the 16th of, it's not like this weekend, but the following weekend it'll start. So think about that for good fun. In addition, we have meditation classes Saturdays and Sundays at 10 a.m. A short medicine Buddha puja on Facebook every evening at 7 p.m. And then food offering ceremonies every day at various times on Zoom, and sometimes also in other places, but mostly on Zoom. So take a look at the calendar on tara.org. The calendar is, if you go into tara.org, you just scroll down the front page. It's at the bottom, there'll be a link to webcasts and calendar. And click on that, and it'll send you right to that page. and below the webcast is the calendar. So you can click on it, click on the event will open up, and it will give you, where it is, what venue, if it's on Zoom, if it's on Facebook, if it's on YouTube, if it's somewhere else, and how you get there, if it's got codes, and it will also give you a link to the practice if it's a practice. So that's a start. And in addition to that, there's walking trails, meditation gardens over here if you actually get here in person, which would be awesome. And you can walk the land and have your own meditations and do what brings you great peace and relief. So however you choose to, bring out your best qualities and to offer them for sentient beings, do it in whatever way works. So that's pretty much, I think, what Jetsunma was saying. And, and we try to offer these things to help you do that. So if you want to make an offering to Jetsunma, having received a teaching, you can do so on her PayPal account, which is jetsumagift@gmail.com. Jetsumagift, one word, @gmail.com. That's in the chat. So let's see. That's all for today. And coming up on Sunday, we'll have another teaching. So thanks for joining.